larger Catechism meditation this morning looks at question number 87, which reads as follows. What are we to believe concerning the resurrection? The answer is we are to believe that at the last day there shall be a general resurrection of the dead, both of the just and unjust, when they that are then found alive shall in a moment be changed, and the selfsame bodies of the dead which were laid in the grave, being then again united to their souls forever, shall be raised up by the power of Christ. The bodies of the just, by the Spirit of Christ, and by virtue of his resurrection as their head, shall be raised in power, spiritual, incorruptible, and made like to his glorious body. And the bodies of the wicked shall be raised up in dishonor by him as an offended judge. The resurrection that the Catechism has in mind here is that final resurrection on the last day. When we look at the parables of Jesus and the instructions that he gave with regard to that time, we see that time and time again the resurrection is being pictured as occurring all at once. Both the righteous and the wicked rise at the same time. They go to their separate destinies, but each will arise before the Lord at the same moment, the just and the unjust alike. It will be at that last day when Jesus appears in the heavens with the cry of the archangel and the trumpet of God sounding. At that time, all men and nations will rise from the dead. Believers who are yet in the world at that time, still alive, will be caught up in the air. We read that in what Paul says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, where those that are still alive and remaining will be caught up, and their bodies will be transformed. But at that same day, the rest of the dead will not be left to their sleep, but will also be raised to new life. The bodies of the dead will be joined with their souls and given to their eternal destinies. One of the conceptions of our catechism, which I think is important to remind ourselves of, is that our union with Christ does not merely concern our souls or our hearts, but it also encompasses our bodies as well. Our whole nature is united to Christ. That's why when he suffered in this world, he did not simply suffer mental anguish, feelings of sorrow and pain, but he suffered as a man with a human body. That body had to die, and in that body he rose from the dead. That physical resurrection is the ground of our hope that we too, in our bodies, will rise up from the earth. Some discount the idea of a bodily resurrection of Jesus from the grave. They suggest that he rose spiritually, or he rose in the minds and hearts of his people as we remember him. He still lives in our hearts. But don't you see, that destroys the hope of our own resurrection from the dead. That minimizes the earthly body and considers it not worth saving. That is not God's way of doing things. He saves the whole man, and indeed all of creation takes part in that great grand end of human history. And so we do not share the vision of like the movie Cocoon, where we just rise up in spirits off into another world, or some of these other scientific films where our evolutionary process takes us to a position of light. But we are, in our soul and body, are transformed. This very same physical body that you have, get used to it, you'll see it again. At the same time, the body will be transformed. It will be incorruptible. That is, it will not grow weary, tired. It will not age or decay. It will be incorruptible. It will not be subject to sin and its influences any longer. The body will be powerful and made like to the body of Jesus. You remember when he appeared before his disciples, he passed through rooms that were locked and appeared before his disciples. He seemed to go from one place to the other effortlessly. Similarly, when we are raised in glory, we too shall have wonderful new bodies. They are spiritual bodies, not in the sense that they are no longer physical, but they are inhabited by the Spirit. They are caught up in this new spiritual realm. And so we shall ever be with the Lord. The bodies of the wicked will be raised up in dishonor. Again, they will be joined with their souls, and body and soul will be cast into hell to suffer the torments of the wrath of God. So what will happen at the resurrection? We don't look for several stages of the resurrection, a rapture of the church, and then a period of time when then there will be a second resurrection, and then perhaps after that a final resurrection of some. No. One resurrection at the end of history. And at that time, the just go to their everlasting salvation, and the wicked pass to their judgments.